Hello, everyone.
What's up, everybody?
It's Tori.
Tim.
And Hunter.
And this is the Stuck Together podcast.
This is, but you're also going to hear that again in about 10 seconds.
Yeah, this is post-podcast because we filmed a whole recorded a whole podcast with our lovely friend Hunter.
Our first guest.
Yes, our
Such
first
an honor.
guest.
Let's do it again.
Yes, and we did not record the visuals of
the video.
podcast.
Did not get recorded.
So now you will have a lovely podcast still, just with no video. You won't get to see our beautiful faces.
Right. So you can listen.
Keep this in your memory.
Yes.
No, we'll pause and then it'll go straight to audio.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we'll do a nice little clip for you guys to look at a still of us.
So everything else was recorded. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Here's the podcast.
This has been a great podcast, so we would love if you guys listen. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Tori.
And I'm Tim.
And I'm Hunter.
And this is the Stuck Together podcast with a guest.
Whoa.
Wow.
You don't have to lean that far in.
Episode 7.
Oh, it's
What
the
if I want to
seventh
hide
one?
my face? What if I want to...
Is that what you're doing? You're
Yep.
trying to hide your face?
I'm just...
Well, I turned it way up
Yeah,
so
no,
that you could
it's
hear
great.
us without doing
Yeah.
that. And then
Okay.
you got like this close.
Well, I was nervous. I wanted the intro to be good.
This is an ASMR edition
That's
of
what I'm
the...
saying.
It's really loud, but we'll whisper the whole time. Thank you for having me.
You should be fine, like right there.
Right
That's
here?
fine. Yeah.
Okay.
No. That
Cool.
intro was perfect. And yeah, so Hunter, do you want to explain how you're related
Explain
here
yourself.
and
Explain
who you a
what
little bit
you've
about
done.
yourself?
Let's see. Well, Tim and I have 12 years of friendship at this point.
Oh my god.
Something like that. Maybe
More.
even more. Maybe
No.
like 14.
We're both 30 now. We would have graduated at 18. We met for like freshman year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like
damn.
16 years.
16 years. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
that's like 16 years.
asterisk there, 16 years.
Yeah, asterisk.
That's incredible. So, yeah, we both grew up in Franklin together. The high school, we were in this band called Punchinello, which legendary band of Franklin. Mm-hmm. And, and I found myself in Denver this weekend going to a show at Red Rocks. And they told me about the podcast, and I was very honored that you guys wanted to have me as the first guest
First guest.
on the
First guest.
podcast.
Yeah, and small caveat, the audio might be a little weird. We're trying to get it all worked out.
Yep.
I think however it sounds, the most important thing is that we have a super awesome guest here, so bear with us.
Hell yeah.
We're
audience.
also sharing... Me and Tim are sharing a mic, and... Hopefully, once we have all that sweet podcast money, we can get another set of headphones and a mic.
AG1, sponsor us right now.
Yes. Audio Technica. You know what I said about you.
Or any competitors that
And
want to,
you,
Yeah.
hey, hit us up.
Yeah,
It's a race to
anyone.
the top, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yep.
Well, yeah, so me and Hunter go way back. I remember when our mutual friend introduced us, and Mitch
Yes.
McCloy, he introduced us because he knew both of us and knew we were both super into music in high school. And from there, we just kind of got together in the band. That other guy was kind of in the band for a minute, but it just didn't work out, which
Yeah.
is fine. But then me and Hunter stayed in the band, and then we had our third, Austin, and we won the county fair battle of the bands.
Yeah, we did.
We won studio time in Franklin, Tennessee, where Taylor Swift records, mind you.
Dark Horse Studios.
We were big
Big
shots,
Yeah.
super big shots.
Our egos were pretty big at that
Oh,
point.
yeah.
Yeah. We needed to be knocked down a little bit. Yeah.
It was fun though. It was super fun, super cool. We played tons of cool shows. We recorded an album that's out there, and then we
Did a
lived
lot of wine tastings. I remember
Yeah.
that was like our big gig.
Ooh.
Was that we
in the
would,
restaurant we worked at.
Yeah.
We would go play for hours, like at the restaurant.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we would just like wait for people to get a little drunk, and they were Franklin people, so they had a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they were like,
Yeah.
look at these cute little high school boys dressed up, and we would wear like a dress shirt with a tie and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they would throw money in our little bucket that we
Oh,
had set up.
yeah.
And then we lived together. We moved out at the same time after we graduated high school, and then we moved into the dojo, which is our little attic apartment in Nashville. Lived there for a year, and then you left, took some adventures around the world, came back intermittently, and, you know, I don't know if you want to say anything about that. We don't have to go through details if you don't want.
I did 1 year in Uganda, in northern Uganda, working at a school, and they were trying to grow food for the school. So it was like a farming project. It was a really cool experience, but I was 19 at the time. So I was like, never really left Franklin, and then all of a sudden thrown into northern Uganda. So it was a big life difference, life-changing experience at that point. And then came back, and we moved back in together and started working at Cafe Coco. That was the Cafe Coco era.
Yeah.
So
such a fun name, Cafe Coco.
Yeah. It was a 24/7 cafe, so it never closed.
Wow.
And we would work the night shifts a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah. Such a good time. Do you remember, this is one of my most cherished memories. And it was when I was being a total jackass. Do you remember when we were all at Cafe Coco and I was like with Penny in the kitchen just like chatting and talking it up and having a blast? You had a friend from Uganda, the girl, that was in town. Yes. And you guys kept telling me, we have to go. But I kept like leaving and disappearing and not being with you guys. And you guys were so frustrated. And I like was just like hanging out, and then we finally left. And then your friend like said something and was like, finally, when we were in the car. So I jumped out of the car. I was like, fuck this.
Oh,
and
I don't remember
You don't
this.
remember that?
No. I think maybe it bothered you a lot more than it did me.
She just, I was like, you don't come to my place and tell me what to do and then get pissed when I'm not doing it. I was like, just leave. I'm going to hang out.
Yep.
And you and Camille were so worried and like so freaked out that I was okay because like the car was moving. I was like out. I was like done. And I think either you or Camille came back to get me, and I was still vibing because that's what I was trying to do.
Honestly, you probably don't remember it because that's just a very Tim thing to do.
It was like, which one? I mean, it was happening like every week, or was it every other week?
You're like that. Yeah, that just
fair
like
enough.
just another thing, you know.
You were a wild man, that's for sure. And there was a lot of liquor at that point, so tequila was flowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how could it not?
Tim's favorite.
Yeah.
Well, and so you're out here in Colorado. You were actually born here.
I was. I lived the first 4 years of my life here, and then we moved to Franklin.
Yep. And so now you're back, full circle. How many times have you been to Colorado since you moved away when you were 4? I was curious about that.
So my parents had really good friends that live in Denver. So we would come back like every 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Okay. And their kids were about the same age as us. And so we would go on like some skiing trips, and we would go visit their house. So I've probably been to Colorado like 6 or 7 times since we moved away. Yeah.
Very
nice.
Yeah.
So it has kind of become like a second home-ish. With having my family friends there, and my parents had like they met each other and lived out here for a while, so it's important to them too. So
yeah.
Cute. And what do you do now?
So right now I work for a tree organization. So we're planting trees, and we're starting to do stream restoration stuff.
Very nice.
So like streams that have that are eroding and all the mud is sliding into the river and then polluting everything. We'll put willow branches in the side of the stream, and it'll like hold the stream together so it doesn't erode anymore. And it's a natural way to kind of keep pollution out of the river. So we're going to do a lot more of those projects this winter, which I'm very excited for.
Can I say you look like you work for a tree organization?
What gives it away?
All of the
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So.
Should we take down the camera thing? I keep looking at myself.
Oh, are you looking at yourself?
Yeah,
what,
well,
narcissist?
I'm the only one facing
Just trying to check out how you look every 10 seconds.
I know I look good. Don't even.
I'm more concerned about the audio.
Straighten the overalls.
Oh, gosh, I gotta tighten up.
Is the audio good? We're good?
It looks fine.
Okay.
However it turns out, it's going to be okay.
Yep.
It'll be okay because it's our first run, and then once we get AG1 money, we can get more mics, more headphones, we can get more everything.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be perfect.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. Or any other company.
Literally anyone.
Beat
Sponsor us.
AG1 to it. AG1 has a monopoly on the YouTube market, on the podcast market. You gotta beat them to it.
Naked Juice. Anyone.
Oh, yeah. What do you guys use the most? Dog treats. Any kind of dog treat?
Dog stuff, cat stuff.
Pork chomps.
Anything.
Hit us up.
Yeah. Pork chomps. Oh, they love
We give
pork
our dog
chomps.
tons of pork chomps.
Yeah.
That's the best one. Sage just got sick because we got a bad toy.
Yeah.
Oh,
We had to take her to the vet
dang.
because it was an actual bone, which wasn't really the problem. It was the filling
Yeah.
was like not
They're
cool. And so like she ate the filling and then she was like could barely stand. Like she was just like her stomach was messed up.
It was really bad. Don't ever give your dogs or cats Old Roy from Walmart.
Yeah, fuck old Roy.
Their reviews are horrible online.
People were like, "This killed my
PSA,
dog."
Yeah.
Damn.
Don't get it.
No, it was horrible.
We didn't realize that because when we started like doing research on it, like the only site that would link to it, the only number was like all Walmart. So it's just a Walmart company, like a Walmart based company. So they aren't like, they don't care about dog care.
No,
you know?
not at all.
So always got to be careful and diligent with your dog toys and treats and food.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I saw the other day when she ate that thing and almost choked
my
on it
God.
too.
Dude,
Dude, she doesn't know how to eat.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dude.
we've given her those pork skins. I don't know if maybe the new ones that you got are like tougher or something, because
Maybe.
she normally doesn't have an issue with that. But yeah, we were
Yeah.
all sitting down for dinner, just hanging out, and all of a sudden we just hear her going, and like there was a point where I was like actually concerned. I was like, I think she's like actually choking. It was like scary.
Well, Sage is way worse at it than Anubis, but because Sage just like her thing is speed. For some reason, she doesn't want to like savor it at all. She has no concept of like, I'm going to enjoy this. Like for her, it's like, holy shit, let me eat it as fast as possible. Like I need to get this done right now.
Yeah.
Which like, whatever floats your boat, but like when she won't chew and then will like hurt herself.
Yeah.
And like the other thing is like she's way worse than Anubis at like trash and stuff too. She'll just try and eat anything. So she's like, you have to watch her so she doesn't hurt herself constantly.
Yeah.
When I was out walking her, there's been a few times, like one time there was construction going on and there was just like chunks of asphalt on the ground, and I thought she was just sniffing them, but then she ate one.
Oh.
She
Actual asphalt.
literally eats anything.
Ow.
With her
Stomach of stone.
with her medications, like whenever I need to give her pills or anything, I literally like I put them in cheese, but I've tried like just giving them to her and she'll just eat them. Like I don't even need to trick her. She's just like, "Ooh." This is Sage, by the way. We've introduced her before, but for people watching, if this might be the first time you're watching, Sage is on the Grem cam right now.
It's the giant white fluff
Yes,
ball.
giant polar bear.
Right there.
Yes,
Yeah.
but yeah, she will literally eat anything.
It's ridiculous.
Anything at all.
And unsafe. Like it's scary. Like it's honestly scary. It'll be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, because we'll be outside and she'll get some in her mouth. And Anubis, if I'm like really firm and I'm like, drop it, he'll drop it.
Yeah.
Sage will try and eat it faster so I don't come over and rip it out of her mouth.
Yeah. Well, and she...
That's awesome.
Luckily, she doesn't, like, chew anything up and then eat it most of the time. Like, she won't, like, rip anything apart and then try to eat it. But if Anubis has a toy and then rips it up like a rubber toy or something, she'll eat the bits. Like, off the floor.
Wow.
I'm like, what are you doing? Like, stop. It's like these giant rubber chunks, and she's just like, delicious. I don't...
Again, what is her IQ? We don't know.
We don't know.
Smart or stupid. You could do a tally of all the things that you think are in each category.
There is a dog IQ test we could probably do. It's like different types of like how they respond to things.
She might be able to outsmart it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Well, yeah, if she doesn't want to do it, she won't.
Exactly.
So it's like, again, is she just stubborn or dumb?
Yeah. She's Schrodinger's IQ, you know?
Yeah.
You can't. You can't test it.
You can't test it, yeah.
As long as you don't test it, it
yeah.
is and isn't genius at the same time.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she's crazy.
I wanted to know how the show was last night.
Yes. Yeah, we went to Red Rocks for the first time, which was so impressive.
Yeah.
Like, when we went in through the upper lot, that's like how we entered it.
Uh-huh.
So you come out through the top and you like see the whole thing, and it's just mind-blowing. It's so pretty.
Yeah.
And then there was a storm that was coming in as we were all getting seated, so everyone was kind of on edge of whether the show's going to get rained out or... but then it ended up to where, like, the storm passed, and so as the band started playing, you could just see lightning off in the distance.
Oh, wow.
And right at the end of the set, so the band that we saw was called Hiatus Coyote, which they're from Australia, and they're like a neo-soul funk kind of thing. And right in their last 2 songs, it started raining and the wind whipped up.
Dang.
And it was awesome. It was really cool. It felt really epic.
Yeah.
And then right when their set ended, the rain stopped.
Oh, wow.
So it was like, felt like some kind of divine timing that was going on. So,
Perfect.
Yeah. Ooh, I have a question.
Yeah.
For everyone. What's the best show you've ever seen? Like, it could be music, it could be theater, it could be whatever, but, like, what's the best, like, live performance you've ever seen?
Dang, that's a hard one.
I know. I asked that, and I was like, I don't have an answer to that.
Yeah.
I gotta think about that.
The best?
Yeah.
It's hard because I've not even been to that many shows. Like, I'm not a show goer. Like, you know that about me.
I was always pulling you out to go
Yeah.
to them.
And I'd have fun, but, like, it's not my main go-to of, like, let's go find a show and go.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's, I'll have to rack my brain for all 10 shows I've been to in my life.
Yeah.
What about you? What's anything off the top of your head come to mind?
There was one, so Mitch's older sister, we were probably like 16, and his older sister was like the cool sister that would bring us out to stuff when the mom was out of town, and like she played music as well, and so like she was connected to the Nashville scene. And there was one time where she brought us to this show that was at a motorcycle garage. So it was like literally they just pushed the motorcycles to the side.
Yeah.
And they had this band called The OCs, which is like a punk band from California.
Yeah.
And it was like they had just had a keg there. It was more of like a just pop-up party kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And we were 16-year-olds just like,
oh, yeah.
oh my God. You know? And people were like, we stayed until like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Ooh.
And there was like crowd surfing, and I was in the front just losing my mind. And yeah, I think that one, like, because of the timing of it, of just like, it's my first show, and like parents didn't know that we were in Nashville.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the best.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds dope.
Yeah.
I thought of one.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were there, but it was in Nashville, and it was like, I don't even remember who was playing, but it was like hard rock, heavy metal type bands, like local bands. I don't even remember the venue. I can just see it in my head. It was one of those like practically pop-up things. Who knows what that place was during the day. And like, I just remember there was enough people I knew there, and like I think one of my friends was playing, and I just went so hard and had so much fun and got whiplash and from headbanging so hard in the front. Like I gave it like my everything. I was just like rocking out so hard, and then I was like, oh, I can't move my neck. Like what the? I was like, that was so worth it, but what did I do, dude?
Nice.
So that was probably the funnest show I've ever been to.
Was it a big warehouse?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that was because it was someone from Coco was playing in one of the bands.
Probably,
so
yeah.
I think it was all of our friends from the cafe went.
Yeah.
And maybe the Blackfoot Gypsies or something were playing. But I think I remember that show, too. They had big projections on the wall.
I just remember it being really dark and my neck hurting. Okay. That's the main things I remember.
Hey, we gotta take you to more shows if that's your best one.
I want to take you to more shows. Oh my goodness. They're
you
so
don't go
fun.
to shows all that much.
Well, not since COVID.
Oh.
I was gonna go.
Were you a huge show person before COVID?
I was, yeah.
Oh.
I loved shows. The one I was gonna go see before, like right when COVID hit was, I believe, Truth. It's a pretty heavy like EDM artist. And I think, oh no, it was Peekaboo and Truth was opening for them.
Oh.
And yeah, both pretty heavy artists. But yeah, I used to go to a lot more. I wasn't like a show goer, I would say, but I did enjoy, like, when I wasn't like, let's find a show to go to. It was more like if an artist I really enjoyed was coming to town, I'd try my best to go see him. But I wasn't just like, I knew people who were like, let's find all the EDM shows and go to all of them. I was like,
Friday,
no.
Saturday, Sunday, we don't leave.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know who these people are. Like, I don't really want to. For me, that's really tough. Yeah, I asked that thinking I had an answer.
No answer.
I most likely, Rez at Red Rocks was crazy. It was like unbelievable. But I think probably Portugal the Man at Red Rocks, just because they were my favorite band, and I was like, oh my god. And it was really cool because they were really like, for the longest time I was like, how are they not like blowing up yet? These are like, it's so good. And then finally Feel It Still came out, which is like actually my least favorite song from them, but it was blowing up, and so they like played Red Rocks, and it was like this huge thing, and like all this stuff, and it was just like, yay, they like they're doing it. So that one was really fun just because it was like my favorite band ever.
That is a really satisfying feeling to follow a band and then finally they get recognized and start making money. And
it's so nice. Yeah. Cool. I saw Halsey in a really tiny theater. I think it was the Gothic here in like 2014 or something, when she was like very small. I was like right next to her. I like could see her. I was like, oh my god. And then she's who she is now, which but I saw a lot of
Then she changed.
Yeah. No,
I saw a lot of really fun, like, small shows. I saw Juice WRLD in a really small theater. That was fun.
That's cool.
But yeah, that's tough. So yeah, I'd probably just say Portugal the Man, because it was so like impactful. And I was with my best friend Aspen, and we both were just like, this is it. And we had just graduated high school, and so it was just like a moment, Yeah. It was like the summer after high school, like we're living it up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
I think I was just thinking about it, and I think people get like enchanted by big artists and people they really like, they get that sort of like, if I ever saw them, what would I say? Like, there's this magical person, and I just like, and so going to a show and seeing them play is just like the music you love, and this person who's just this fantasy and this fantastical thing, and like, I don't know why, but like, I don't have that gene of like, this person's fantastical. Like, I remember Toby Mac is a really big Christian guy. Do you know who that is? And he went to our church, and like, people would like be like, whatever, and I'd be like, yo, what's up, dude? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you make music, I listen to your music, but I'm not like gonna fan out over you. I wonder if that's part of it, because either that or I'm just like an alien, because like I feel like everybody likes shows, like I should like shows, but I just don't.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily for seeing the, like, I think sometimes it's kind of weird to be like, holy shit, like they're right there.
Yeah.
Like I saw Billy Joel in concert, and I was like, that's fucking Billy Joel right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, it was like,
you've heard his voice for years.
Yeah, it was like
you're at his show.
Yeah, it was a crazy thing just to like really be like, no,
don't chew or drink my water.
Frita. But so I like understand that, but I think for a lot of people, especially at EDM shows and like rock shows and stuff, it's like just hearing it in your bones, There's like something about that. Have you ever been to an EDM show?
Or a metal show?
Because we need to go if you haven't.
It's
amazing.
Probably not to the standard that you guys would say I need to.
Well, because if like when you feel it in like your body, like it's just like vibrating. It's like crazy. It's just, there's an experience of hearing music like in that kind of setting, especially somewhere like Red Rocks, where it's so like the acoustics are just crazy, and you're outside, and it's just like this magical thing, I
think I'd much rather just like have my headphones and be in the mountains and listen to music. I think that's part of it. Like being around people isn't attractive to me. I'm not like, oh, let me go like be around a shit ton of people and like listen to music.
I don't like that part either.
I think I'm more like
that part.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think for me, part of it's like, I think I'd just as much get good headphones and go like somewhere secluded that I like and listen to music. Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know.
No, I really enjoy at shows when they do it, either they play things that are new that you haven't heard.
Yeah.
Or they like remix some of their stuff, you know, like Portugal the Man opened with Brick in the Wall by Pink Floyd. They opened with that, and then it perfectly transitioned into one of their songs, and it was like amazing. It was like, there's just something about, because a lot of times they're not just up there like performing their songs, it's like they're putting on like a show of like other stuff too, and so it's like, it's just, it depends, and obviously it has to be an artist that's like good live and all of that, and not every artist is, but that's why I like the stuff where it is really more about the music and not about the person. Like I know some celebrities, kind of like Beyonce, like the show is about it being Beyonce or Taylor Swift. The show is about you seeing oh my god, Freya. The show is about like you being with them and them being like, fuck yeah, I'm this person, like the show is all about me, and it's like no, that's not what I'm looking to see. I'm looking to like, you know, get to hear something in a way that I haven't before, because like, you know, LS Dream I think would be like, we both really like LS Dream, and I think that would be absolutely insane to see live. Yeah, but
maybe.
Sometimes, I mean, some people don't like it. Some people do. You know, I think I've gotten a lot more anxiety around it. The last show I went to, I had a lot more anxiety than I thought I would. Just because
like being around that many people?
Yeah, as I've gotten older, it's just those types of situations. I don't think it's not that they never bugged me before. It's just I'm like allowing myself to feel, like not ignore my feelings. And so, it's, I get a lot more anxious. But yeah, I haven't been to a show since post-COVID because the last one I was going to go to got canceled.
Hunter, what's your favorite show that we played?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good question. The Mercantile show, I think.
Oh, that was so good. That show was amazing.
Yeah, the Mercantile was this small little sandwich shop in Franklin. And they did mostly ska shows.
Yeah.
Which were really fun because, like, you know, it'd be like very high energy. Everyone's running around in circles, and there's that specific dance that ska has where you're like, you know, it's a very Franklin white person dance. But we booked it out one night, and we had the New Respects played before us.
Yeah,
and that was when our songs had been out for a little bit, and our friends all knew the lyrics, like the chorus to those 3 songs. And so when we got to the chorus, it was super shocking because they all started singing it back to us. And it was like very surreal to be something that we created. People knew it and were singing it back and had listened to our songs outside of us. And and it was also kind of towards the end of us graduating, I think.
Yeah, it was, I think. Yeah, it was. That was a legendary show.
Very special. Do you have one that sticks out?
I was thinking about it right before I asked, and I had one, but I feel like that one's better.
Okay, second best then.
Yeah, we played some fun ones. Now I almost just can't even remember what my other one was.
Yeah.
You're like, that one was
like,
sick.
that one probably was the best.
We played a cool house show. We played Harrison's Basement once. That was pretty fun.
Yeah. The one I was gonna think of was the one where we did the it wasn't really our show, but the talent show. And the one where I stopped and then was like, "Oh, are we still going?" Do you remember that one?
No. Oh, like at the end of Kings? Is that where you... Yeah.
I like stopped and then we kept going, and like I didn't think anything of it, and everyone was like thought that was like so weird.
Yeah.
But that was like that show with us just like being up there and like playing in front of everybody.
Yeah.
I felt like we like cut our teeth there and just like had a lot of fun.
We did. I think you and I played Furman, just the 2 of us once. At
we had to make sure we got it took a minute to get Austin and to get it settled.
Yeah.
You know? Because we had a few people at the beginning, and then kind of like, it kind of came down to just you and me, and I remember we had that conversation where it was like, do you still want to do this?
Yeah.
And then we were like, yeah. And that's when we found Austin was like, after that, then it was pretty like solid. It was
Yeah,
like
and then it started going really fast after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you told the Jedi Braid story on here before?
Oh,
have you heard that?
You know what? You didn't tell me, but Kate did.
She told you the whole story?
She told me the whole thing. But you can tell it again.
Well,
I mean, that was like the most epic thing from high school. Like, he got so much cred for that.
It's
it was
such a Tim
incredible.
thing.
Yeah.
She like told me, expecting me to be like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, that
all makes sense.
Well, now the people want to know what is the Jedi Braid story.
okay. Well, so in high school, I don't know how it started, but I had one piece of hair that I never cut, and I braided it. It was like right behind my ear, and it was just like a Padawan braid, like from Star Wars. Like
Lots of little beads on it.
little
and
beads,
little trinkets.
little hippie things everywhere. And as long as my hair got, I never cut it. So it was super long. And I had it most, if not all of high school.
Yeah.
And people kind of like knew me like that. Like that was what I had. And so we were in our band, but then I also would like rap and do my stuff. And I had my own music that I would play too. So one of the talent shows, I did my own song, and I did my whole song, and I wrote it into the lyrics about me cutting my braid and like graduating from a Padawan to a Jedi, sort of like as a metaphor. And then on stage, I just cut off my braid in front of the whole school
And threw it into the
threw
crowd.
it.
And
Oh
then
my god! Into the
Cold
crowd.
mic drop, like just walk off the stage, and everyone in the crowd is just like, you know, it landed on someone. They're like,
Like
And my mom, I remember my mom was always like, yeah, I couldn't find my scissors that day from the drawer in the kitchen. And then she went to the talent show, and then when I got up there, she was like, hey, those are my scissors.
I needed those.
that's awesome.
That is performance art.
Oh my God.
Your-
Do you still have it? Didn't you put it in a little Ziploc bag and
It's somewhere.
kept it?
I actually have it because
Yeah.
they gave it, whoever got it gave it back.
Yeah.
And I have it
Aw.
somewhere.
I remember you pulling it out a couple of years ago.
I have
This
it.
little
Yeah.
bag.
I've moved so many times and everything that I don't know where it is now. But
Oh man.
did I ever tell you that when I graduated, Mrs. Williamson, what was the main person at high school
Principal?
called? The principal?
Oh yeah. That thing.
Yeah, that
That we
person.
forgot about.
When I graduated, she going up the ladder, she was like, congratulations. And then when it got to me, she just looked at me, she went, thank you. And I was like, what? And then I just like walked
Get
across.
out of here.
Like.
I was like, for what? Is
Interesting.
it good or bad? Or like, thanks for leaving?
a lot of
Thanks
different
for
ways you could take that.
finishing,
Yeah, like thank
thanks
you for graduating. Like I
It's
thought
like-
you might not.
Yeah.
I don't.
Right, like
Yeah.
thanks for sticking it out with us, or like thanks for all you did, like
Yeah,
as
maybe
a high
she's
schooler,
sincere.
or like
Maybe she listened to your music and she's like, thanks for all the music that you're creating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it could be. I don't know. She could be thank you for that one time I said something nice to her, and I don't even remember. Who knows?
It's so interesting.
For years, it's baffled
He
me.
talks about it a lot. He
We need to
brings
get
it
her
up
on the
a lot.
podcast.
Miss, what's her name?
Mrs. Williamson.
Mrs. Williamson.
This is a call out.
We need you on here. Well, and that was the funny part, was her name was the same name as our county, so I always got it mixed up.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny hearing Tim's stories about high school and just who he was as a kid and still who you are
I'm
now.
still a kid.
Yeah.
But just how unbelievably different we were.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah. There's just so many things where he says it and I'm like, I would have never.
yeah.
Like,
I think most people.
well, and then I was especially like a recluse. I just like, he was talking about like how he would walk around at lunch and like in the lunchroom and like say hi to people, talk to all the different groups, like just was friends with everyone.
He was a socialite.
Yeah, and socialite. Climbing the social ladder. And
he was networking.
Yeah, yes.
Just a typical
and
lunch.
I was like,
business cards.
I was like, I sat in the back of a hallway in the back of the school, in the hall where like the classes were that like no one took.
Yeah,
like
I can kind of imagine it in my head. It's a little dusty.
Yeah, like,
the lights are kind of flickering.
Yeah, it's like with like 3 people, and we'd like be offended when someone walked by. We'd be like, "How rude! You are interrupting our quiet time." Like
Tim would be the guy with like Toms on that's skipping down the hallway.
Oh my god! Literally, it's so crazy because I told him I was like, "You're my worst nightmare in high school." Because he would be the one who would see me in the corner and be like, "Oh," and talk to me because like he thinks I'm lonely or something, and I'm like, "No, I chose this." Like, it's so funny hearing that, and like, yeah, you were such a performer, and I just not a performer.
He was a bard. I feel like
like
very much a bard.
Just
in high
school. Wanting to entertain but like in like being yourself too, you know. Because I was far from myself. I was
we all gotta come into our own
little emo, I wasn't that emo, but yeah, just very. And I mean, you're much more social than I am a lot of the time. Still, you have to kind of drag me out of the house most of the time.
Yeah, I don't even realize I do it. I think I just start talking to people and then
you talk like. There was one time, and I love that you do this, so I don't want you to take this as like me being like, don't do this anymore. But we were in the grocery store, and he was getting like some granola bars, and there was a girl like kind of looking at everything. Who knows if she was, looking for something she couldn't find or what to get. I don't know. But Tim goes up to grab his bars, and he's like, if you're looking for a good one, I get these like every week, And I'm just like, I would never think to talk to another soul in the grocery store.
That's awesome.
I'm like, that's just, it's so you to just like talk to people. I'm like, I just would never.
Recommendations. She was looking at the granola.
It was so nice. Yeah. And like, for me, I'm like, I avoid people like the plague. I'm like, I don't want to talk to anyone. Even if I make eye contact for a little too long, I'm like, oh, fuck, like,
I'm sorry.
sorry. I'm gonna act like I'm just walking away, but really I'm running away, Yeah, I'm just not that. But once I'm in a conversation, I'm like, I'm good at
then she won't shut up. I'm kidding.
You're right. But yeah, getting into conversations, especially with people I don't know, I'm just kind of like,
yeah,
I don't want to open that can of worms, because sometimes it's like if you invite the conversation, like she could have been the kind of person to be like, oh, thanks, actually, I'm getting these for my son, and like, blah, 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 like just opening it up, and you would have been trapped. Oh my God.
You would have been horrified.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm not good at ending those conversations, because I'm like, I started this.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Yeah, I have a hard time getting out of conversations. That's probably why I'm afraid of them, because I'm like, I don't know how to end this. I can't. So, yeah, but I think it's fun that we're so different in that way.
Yeah.
And how in high school I probably would have been like, anytime I saw you walking down the hall, I'd be like, oh shit, like I gotta go somewhere. So, because I just didn't want to talk to anyone. It wasn't like actually, it just was like, if I knew someone would talk to me, I'd be like, oh, I gotta go. Which is so bad. I don't know what that says about me at the time, but yeah, I think it's fun that you did that. I wished I could be like that. I think I told you that. I envied those people at the same time.
Yeah.
I was like, I wish I could just talk to people like that. It was really hard for me.
When you got to college, was it a little bit easier to kind of
be... Yeah, it was weird. It was really weird. 'Cause in high school, my first boyfriend, like long-term boyfriend, was a really popular person in school. And so when we broke up, I kind of was bullied for a while by people and like harassed. And he told everyone everything. And so for the rest of high school, I kind of just wanted to avoid people. And I started like in the last half of high school, I was dating someone who was more like like people didn't know who he was, like, you know, whatever. And all my friends were kind of like not in that anymore. And so I got really comfortable with like just kind of flying under the radar and just not talking to people. And like, cause at the beginning of high school, I wanted to like be liked by everyone. And then by the end I was like, I don't want to talk to anyone. And then when I went to college, it was like it was like a clean slate. No one knew who I was. And I went to a school that was like 70% or like 65 to 70% men. And so I got all this attention that like people were nice to me. And I was like, what? And so I did socialize more. I joined a sorority. I branched out a little bit more. Obviously having 2 roommates in like one room like makes you be more social. You're like having to meet all these new people. But I definitely still liked being alone. I think I've been more, like, I'm more comfortable being social now than, like, pretty much ever, but I still have a hard time. But yeah, the flux in attention was really tough.
Yeah.
And, like, all these girls who didn't know me being like, oh my God, let's be friends, and, like, all of that. I was so used to, like, I had established at school, like, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
You know? And so to go to a place where that was not a thing, it was like, whoa.
They were like, let's be friends. And you were like, no, let's not be friends.
I was still very, like, I mean, I got that way because, like, I was hurt. I was, like, bullied, and I had this, like, target on my back just for dating someone. And so it closed me off. I was like, I'm, like, scared to be here. But, yeah, so.
Not cool.
Yeah, not cool.
Super not cool. But what are you going to do?
Yeah. But.
Yeah, Tim has kept a lot of, his your high school version of yourself. There's still a lot of the personality traits that are.
I'm the same.
Not the same. Not the
Were
same.
you always really social?
No, well, I was.
Really.
That's kind of good to hear because I did so much acid and psychedelics and other drugs. I always kind of thought I totally changed as a person.
Lost it a little bit.
So to hear that you're like, yeah, you're kind of the same. I'm like, oh, cool. Like
some wires got crossed.
Yeah. Well, that's true. They did.
That's so scary. Like I feel like one of the scariest things about drugs is like it can change you, and if it's gradual enough, you won't know.
Yeah, that is scary.
Yeah. The gradual part is pretty freaky.
Yeah.
Because if you do an acid trip, you can watch yourself being like, I am decaying, isn't?
Yeah.
But yeah, doing something long enough that slowly it's like, oh, he's different now. That would be freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, when I think about it, I think you've got a lot of the same personality traits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I would say you do too. And one thing that you did this little circle that you always do. You always point like this.
Oh, I did?
Yeah. Yeah, you did this one thing, and you did that the other night when we had dinner, and I was like, that's my boy right there.
Nice.
That's
Still doing it. Full circle.
Were you very social? Were you...
I was kind of in between. I would say that I had a lot of... I knew a lot of people, and I would socialize, but I was not the same level of, wanting to be in the spotlight.
Yeah.
I would say. I prefer to be a little bit on the edge and to kind of we would play music in front of lots of people, and that was good for me to put myself out there and be more, I don't know, performing. I definitely had performing anxiety.
Yeah.
Because it's you're on stage, everyone's looking at you, there's the silence and the spotlight, and I think that was really good in high school to get over that, and then to be best friends with him, because it's impossible to be in the background when you're best friends with this guy. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I did in high school, I felt I kind of found my really close friends and spent a lot of time with them.
Yeah.
And developed those relationships instead of doing... I think at the beginning of high school, I did way too much of the trying to fit in everywhere.
Me too. Yeah.
And then really glad that I was in this Christian group of friends that I'm really glad I got out of when I did, because they were doing Bible studies and stuff, and I had this moment where I was like, I don't want to be doing this anymore. Actually.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved all of our adventures that we went on. We went on lots and lots of adventures, lots of hanging out. And it was so cool that as regular high school buddies, as a archetype, it's like when we hung out, it's like we were doing creative stuff like making music.
Yeah.
You know, it was like we weren't just like we were just hanging out, and that was dope, and it was like so awesome to be like, this is like my best friend, one of my best friends, and we're just like living life, but then also creating what we created.
Yeah.
It's so cool to think about.
And we'd make stuff and bounce it off each other, and then like add things.
There was one time I think I told you were playing the song, and I was like, "That's a Reliant K song." Dude.
Yeah, I just totally ripped it off and was like, and then I sang the Reliant K lyrics. Was like, oh no,
like, oh no.
I got there independently of it, but then just wrote their song.
Yeah, I saw a video about that, how that happens to like musicians a lot.
Yeah.
Where like, you know, someone else listened to it and they're like, that sounds like Piano Man. Like, slow it down a little, and then they're like, ah, oh, damn it. Like, yeah. It's hard not to, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think too, also because we were both working in high school, so we were like we had an injection into the like real world that a lot of our friends didn't have.
Yeah.
As far as like working with people who were addicted to cocaine and you know like older
it exposes
people with regrets and like
yeah.
people like that you don't really get access to when you're just living with your parents and your friends' parents and in this bubble.
Yeah.
So we did that like I think we worked junior and senior year of high school.
So yeah, 16 for sure, because we could drive. That was the big thing.
So I think that gave us a little bit of like an edge too in being like more fully formed people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And ready to also like move into our own place right after high school.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of us for doing that.
Yeah. There were a lot of people that were like telling us we were making the wrong decision by like not going to college and that we were gonna like just end up working in restaurants, and we did for a while, but we still found a way like to navigate in that world. And
it's
really
so
awesome.
I think about it like if I would have stayed for all of college, how far behind I would have been as just a person.
Yeah.
You know, not saying that everyone who ever goes to college is behind, but I just know for me, it would have kept me in this like bubble for too long. Like I started college when I was 17, so I left when I was like 18, almost 19. And so yeah, like working with one of the first jobs I had like outside of, you know, once I was living on my own, stuff like that, was with like these older women, like these just 3 older women, and it was like so cool to like be exposed to just like a different phase of life that isn't your parents. And so I think college is good for some people, but I think like there's something to be said about just like going out there, you know, as soon as you, like as early as you can, just like getting out there. I feel like you become a very well-rounded person, you know. Again, not saying people who go to college don't. Yeah. It's just sometimes you have a couple more years just around people your age, you know, and that can be harmful depending on who you are.
Yeah, and college can kind of act as a parent.
Yeah.
With Belmont
it's
specifically.
A lot of structure.
So I remember a lot of our friends, like they had a curfew of 10 p.m.
They did spring break at a different time, so you couldn't really go to
so
Florida.
crazy.
It was cold, so you couldn't go to Florida when
they didn't want people to party.
They were literally like, don't go out into the world.
Yeah, that's
they were
a
like
parent.
still like, don't go.
Yeah.
And they would have people walking and like knocking on your door like at night to make sure that you were in there. And then like the building would you if you left the building, you'd have to get signed out and have a reason and stuff.
What the hell?
So that's what happened is like at the dojo, we were like the same age as all the freshmen, and they were going crazy because they were like, we're paying thousands. Well, their parents are paying thousands and thousands of dollars. They probably didn't think about the money at that point, but like they would come to our house and just spend the night on our couch.
Yeah.
And if they were there past 10, then they had to stay over because they couldn't go back to the dorm.
Wow.
So we would pretty constantly have like, I don't know, at least 2 to 4 people sleeping in our house.
Yeah, and
almost every day.
Yeah, we partied every day. Well, and that was the other thing because we didn't have classes, so whoever wanted to could come party whenever.
It's like, oh gosh, my shift at the bakery is at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Like,
wow. Well, luckily most colleges aren't like that. You can come in and out whenever you want, but that is nuts.
Yeah.
Wow. Ew, that's so ew. That feels like a boot camp or something.
Yeah.
Like a gross.
Yep, it is what it is.
And especially for people who are like creatives that don't really know what they want to do, like college is really not the right move.
No, it's just a waste.
Do you feel like this? I feel like I've been trying to get a hold of this, but I feel like even just recently, I mean, it probably sounds dumb because of how much art we made and how much important that is to us. But I feel like thinking about it recently, just like being an artist.
Yeah.
And just like being an artist is kind of like a different thing from a lot of other types of work and from a lot of other types of like the way people are, and I don't know if you feel like that at all. I guess my recent revelation was just kind of like, as an artist, like there's like a lot of other things don't work the same way. Like I'm sure I know everyone kind of doesn't like going to work, right? But like working within the confines of like, I go to work, I get this thing done, and that's like what I'm working on. Like eventually people like find out like I like doing this engineering job. I like doing this. I'm a politician. Like I like doing this job, but as an artist it's like I need to create,
Yeah.
And it's like I don't know if you've ever felt like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it
'Cause
also
I would say you are an artist, so
yeah, it's like, well, it's just like thinking creatively requires getting inspiration too. So it's like being around people that inspire you, doing things that inspire you. And like with more straightforward paths, like someone who wants to be an engineer, it's like there's a kind of set route that goes. You learn engineering, you get a job, you leverage that job, get a better job, then you have the money to buy a house and whatever. There's like clear paths. Whereas for people who kind of, and there is creativity in that, but if you're someone who's like trying to figure it out in a different way, you've got to do things like move to new places, experiment with drugs that maybe like, I don't know. It's just like, it's baked into you that it's like, I want to see what this feels like if I try mushrooms and see what happens after that. Or, so I think there is a certain thing where if you choose that path, it's not going to be a clear defined one.
Yeah.
So totally. Yeah.
Do you have any big art things you want to talk about? I know you told me about the one thing you're doing. You working on anything super artistic right now?
I've got a couple projects. Like, so I have this VHS camera. It's like this old, big 90s VHS video camera that I've been filming stuff for the last like 2 years on. Ooh. So I want to compile that into some kind of like either like short movie or maybe like some kind of video collage.
Yeah.
So to have like maybe some writings or poetry over it and then have the video playing. And it's already looks really nostalgic because it's got this like grainy 90s look to it. So that's one project. And then the other one is I want to do a zine that's going to be one every season. So it'll be like a fall, spring, summer, winter. And it'll highlight like one tree, one mushroom, and then get someone to do a recipe for each one. Yeah. And then maybe, I don't know yet, but I want to get my friends involved in it too. Like I want other people to write stuff and then I'll compile it into one thing.
Super cool.
And just put them around town.
Yeah,
so,
that's awesome.
Yeah. And you're at the tree place now. It's we haven't totally talked about it, I guess, but it's I think the way I would say is it's just a tree job. Like, what is it exactly?
Well, so I guess it happened in like 2012. Nashville was losing a lot of trees because of all the development that started happening. And so they, also with the flood, it was after the flood.
Yeah.
As they looked at like our waterways were not doing well. And part of it was that trees soak in a lot of water. So the more trees you have, the less flooding you have. So they're all connected.
Wow.
And so they allocated a certain amount of money every year that goes towards planting trees in Davidson County. So if you have an organization, you can apply for a grant to the metro government, and they'll say like, however many trees that you get planted that year, they'll pay you based on that essentially. Yeah. So our organization, like, we ask homeowners if we can plant trees on their house. So like if you own a house or you rent somewhere, you can go onto this website and sign up for as many free trees as you can fit at your house, and then we'll bring them to your house.
I get so many trees.
I know, right? When people
amazing.
realize that they're free and that they're like, they're already 5 or 6 feet tall, so they're established trees. They're like, and they're all native. So we have magnolia trees.
Magnolias are native to Tennessee?
Yeah.
I love magnolias.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
I always thought they were
They're a
just brought
southern
there.
tree.
I thought they were
Cool.
like tropical or something.
No.
I know. They don't seem like they would be, but they are.
I'm sorry, I interrupted the trees that you had.
No, that's it. Swamp white oak, cypress trees,
Cool.
and a couple other serviceberry. That's a good one because it's got edible little berries on it.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah. So if you're in Nashville and you want a tree, sign up. You've got 2 weeks to sign up, and then in 2 weeks we start delivering all the trees.
Get free trees,
Get
everyone.
'em.
If I could, I would. Get them for me.
Or Colorado start doing a similar thing.
Yeah.
Come on, Colorado.
They probably have something similar.
What are you doing?
Maybe I should come out here and start one.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Start a tree biz.
Yeah.
Hunter's Tree Farm. Hunter's Tree thing.
Andrews and McClung Tree Services.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to know a little bit about your stay in the Czech Republic.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't even know why you were there, what you were doing, like
Yeah.
how it is there. Like I really don't know much. So yeah, just
Yeah.
whatever you want to say.
So I moved there in 2016, and it was kind of after this period of that was 4 years of a gap year after high school, and I still had the idea that I wanted to go to college because I do like learning, and I like kind of the structured aspect of like deadlines, and like I do think that our education at Franklin High School was not the most well-rounded. Let's say like European history was one semester of all European history.
Yeah, just all of it.
Yeah, it's just thrown in, whereas like U.S. history is
Oh my god.
3 or 4 classes, and
They teach us too much about that.
yeah.
Anyways.
I was getting a little self-conscious just about like my knowledge, my general knowledge. So, but I didn't want to go to school in the U.S. And after 4 years, that's when all of our friends were just graduating. So it's like the idea of starting over and going to a school as a freshman was kind of not super enticing.
Right, because you graduated in 2012.
Yeah.
Both of you, so that would have made you like 21-ish at
Yeah.
the time you were like, I want to go.
Yeah, I think 22.
22.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I started I did a bunch of research on schools that were in Europe, and I found one in Germany and one in Czech. That the big thing is that like, they charge, like if you're out of the country, they charge you a really high tuition. So most of the other European countries, it was going to end up being the same cost as going to the school in the US. So it was like, this is not really worth it. Like I remember England was like $30,000 a semester or something. And I was like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So the one in Czech though was had like 2,000 students, and it was all taught in English, and they had just gotten accredited in the US. So it counted as a US degree. And it was only like $2,000 a semester.
Damn.
Before scholarships and stuff. So I was like, I could do that.
Yeah.
And you get a European visa for the whole time. The school is kind of like, it's a bit newer, and it's not like super high level of education, but I wrote to some people who had been there, and they said good things about it. I did an interview with an advisor, and I got into the school. So that was my motivation to go over there, was to study. And I kind of told myself I'd do 1 semester, and if I liked it, I'd stay. If not, back to square one. Let's just try something else. So, I moved there in the beginning of winter, which was an insane choice for me to do because I have never felt cold like that first winter. It was an abnormally cold winter for them too. And I remember there was one point where it was like it dropped below 0 and it was iced over. And I lived in this weird little apartment that was in the middle of another ring of apartments. Whoa. So there was no sunlight that got in because it was like surrounded.
So it was all ice forever.
Yeah. And already in the winter, like the sun goes down pretty early.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's the give and take about Czech, is the winters are long and harsh compared to Tennessee, at least.
Yeah.
So, but then like I met my roommate was awesome. His name was Danilo, and he was a graffiti artist.
Ooh.
So he and I were going out almost every night and spray painting stuff, and it was
Yeah.
really
Hell
fun.
yeah.
It was really fun. Like, started off with breaking the law and being a delinquent.
Yeah.
We had to run
Breaking
a couple
the law.
times. Yeah. So, it was a really great experience, and I ended up staying there for, I did 1 semester in Amsterdam,
Ooh,
and then I stayed 4.5 years in Czech.
very nice.
So-
And so you were studying that whole time?
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
I was studying, but I was also taking the route of like doing like 3 classes a semester,
That's
which is the
nice.
bare minimum to keep your visa stuff.
Yeah. That's
So-
the way to do it, because then you can still have a life, you know?
Yeah.
You can still hang out.
Yeah, and I did a bunch of odd jobs. Like I worked at a bar that was on a boat. They've got a river that goes through
Wow.
downtown.
Yeah.
So it was a bar that had like a beer garden on top of it.
Super cool.
So I worked there and a couple cafes, and I taught English a little bit. So
Yeah, how did the language barrier work out? Did you catch on pretty quick, or...
it's a really hard language.
Yeah.
I found that I'm really good at mimicking sounds of a language.
Mm-hmm.
So like the stuff that I did learn sounded pretty fluid,
Okay.
Okay.
but their grammar is so difficult.
Yeah.
And so I got my like all the cuss words and all my favorite phrases
Of course.
and all the stuff that would get me through like working at a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
What kind of percentage of people like that you would talk to knew English? I mean,
So Czech Republic was communist until 1989, and under communism they were never part of the Soviet Union, but they were a satellite state, and that meant that culturally they leaned a lot more towards like Slavic and Russian. So they were taught, you had the option of either German or Russian in school, and Czech. They have their own like Czech language. So anyone who went to school in that period, so anyone who's like 35, 40 and up, their English is a little like hit or miss. And then the younger generation speaks English really well.
yeah.
So you've kind of got a little bit of a divide in that, but then that's kind of a generalization of it. But there are definitely like, if you go out to some villages, there's a lot of people who will be like, I speak German or Russian, but I don't know what you're
You're
what you're saying. So
Yeah. What was your most favorite part about Czech and your
Okay.
least favorite part?
my most favorite part would be, that's a tough one. I would say probably like the ease of moving around the city is one thing that I really liked about it, and the country in general. So like, it's such a nice city to walk in. So like, I walked everywhere when I was
Yeah.
there, if I wanted to.
It's so nice.
Because it's just these like old cobblestone streets, and there's all these parks that are connected, and so like you can walk from one part of the city to the other, and it's just beautiful and like very like, there's benches everywhere, and they prioritize like people enjoying the city a lot.
Like most other countries.
I know.
Besides
America,
this
take a hint. It means a lot, because
Yeah.
it's like you can walk through a park and meet up with your friends. Dogs are everywhere.
Yeah.
Like they have a underground metro system, tram system, bus system, goes all night.
It's awesome.
So,
That's crazy.
and I think because of that, it makes it to where like sometimes I have in Nashville where it's like someone invites me to their house, but they live across town, and it means getting in the car and driving to their house.
Yeah.
And then if you do want to have a drink, you have to think about how much you've drank, and because you want to be
Yeah.
safe. And there's
Instead of just stumbling home, you know?
yeah, or having fun and like walking with your buddies
Yeah.
and sitting in a park for a little while talking at
Yeah.
night, and then get back to your apartment, or
Yeah.
So I would say that like it's conducive to having like a really fun time.
Yeah.
And I think it helps people enjoy the company together more, because there's something about like a group of your friends all like going to a place together and then going to another one, and I just kind of feel that that's lacking here.
Yeah.
So
Well, like we wanted to walk to the downtown area with you guys,
Yeah.
to go to the creek, and Tim was like, we should take them and the dogs and just walk there. And we've done that walk before, and it's like a 1.5 mile to 2 mile walk. It's just like that's a little too long.
Yeah.
For just a little leisurely walk, you know, because we have to go down this like main road and then by a highway and like all of that like to get to this nice area.
Yeah.
And it would be if I could just walk to work every day.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Or even to my classes, I would just jump on a tram and I'd be there in 10, 15 minutes and you know, or you could walk somewhere and then take the tram back. So you're not committed to doing both ways or something, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. And the least favorite part, if there is one.
Yeah. I would say least favorite. I would say that like communism and that era kind of imprinted a little bit of like harshness that can be there sometimes, rudeness in a bit. And I would say like, this is very generalized. There's amazing, you know, but just to say that like there was a certain weight that the city had that I could feel sometimes, especially in winter. There's just like a little bit of this like, I don't know how to put it, but you know, sometimes you would feel it like almost like you're not supposed to be there. And it could be also like a little bit of the foreigner thing where it's like American, you know, British are even worse, but they're tourists that come to the Czech can be kind of obnoxious.
Well, it's just tourists.
It's just tourists in general, but you know, and so I think there was a little bit of a sentiment of like, you're not gonna fully belong. You can belong within a certain bubble, but like you're not gonna fully fit in. And I think the language has something to do with it. I'm sure like learning the language would help a lot in that. But I did start to find towards the end of it where it's like I remember going to the visa office and they purposely fill the visa office with people who don't speak anything but Czech. Oh. And so they're yelling at you in Czech. All the paperwork is in Czech. You have to get every document translated and notarized into Czech. They're very bureaucratic.
Yeah. Wow.
And they denied my application like 3 times because I had the wrong form, and they gave me the new form, and then the next person told me that form was not the right one. And so like every 6 months I would go through this nightmare scenario where I've got to go to this office in this outskirts of town, fight with someone in a language I don't really understand just to stay there, you know?
Yeah.
So
like kind of hoping people would give up, you know, and just go home type attitude. Yeah.
A lot of people do. I mean, like the Czech bureaucracy is something that is renowned to be like tough to navigate, and some people hire lawyers and bring the lawyers with them to the offices to handle it. So
jeez. Yeah.
That's the part of it that I started to get really frustrated with, like, you know, like the day of my graduation was when my student visa ended. Oh. So they were like, you've got a couple weeks to find a job, or you know.
Have you heard anything about, is that similar to Japan, do you think? Like, because I think people say, at least in that way, like, you'll never really be Japanese. Like, you know what I mean? If you went there. And so I've wondered about that. Like,
I feel like so many places are like that.
Do you think that's like, maybe it's just because we're American, right? Because people are just expected you can come here and be American. Or is it just like...
I think even we do it. Because when you said that about, like, always feeling like you don't belong type thing, or, like, you're not supposed to be there. Yeah. Like, I do wonder if... Because, obviously, I've never lived in a foreign country. But I assume that probably no matter how long you live there, like, I don't know, it probably just feels like that. Because, like, it's not where you grew up. At the end of the day, like, you probably won't be on the same page as everyone compared to someone who's lived there their whole lives. Like, you won't get all the cultural references, like that kind of stuff. All the slang, you know, whatever. Like, I do wonder if, even if you did learn the language, I'm sure that there is some part of you. I wondered that with, like, Frank and Maggie.
The owners of our business are Chinese. Yeah, and
they moved here later in life, like, not super late, but, like, probably 20s or 30s. And I've always wondered that, like, even though they've been here for 20 plus years, like, do you still feel on the outside? You know, I don't know.
Do people do that?
Do people make you feel that way too? Yeah, it's like, is it an internal thing?
And you were in Uganda too, so do you ever feel anything similar there? You could relate that to, or?
Yeah, definitely, and I think that Uganda's even a different case for a couple different reasons, but it's like Uganda there's a huge skin color difference, and there's a huge like financial difference. So like there's a lot of times in Uganda I felt that there was this expectation that because you're a foreigner coming there that you had a lot of money to give and to you know, so like there was Mzungu is the word for white person, and so like you'd be called Mzungu, and it can be derogatory, but it also can just be like you're a Mzungu.
Yeah.
But there's like a Mzungu price on a lot of things. So like at the market, if you were to go get your groceries, it would be like doubled or tripled for the Mzungu price. And it would also like, if you knew, you'd have to barter down to like what the normal price was and stuff like that.
But
so,
if you didn't know.
Yeah, but I totally get it too. So
well,
it's
in
like
India, I've heard that happens a lot. Because people will stay there, live there. They know like what's going on, and I've seen videos of people who they'll have to tell them like, no, I'm not paying that, dude. I'm sorry. Like, you know.
Yeah.
And there is something where it's like, there were times where I happily paid more for things because I'm like, I do like, I didn't have a lot of money to spend because I had a very like, I wasn't making any money when I was there, so I was living off of just the stuff that I had saved up before. So there wasn't anything coming in. But like for a taxi ride, like I would sometimes pay a little bit more because I'm like, I do technically have more money to spend on it, and it's like I want to help the economy there, and like And it is tricky because like in Uganda you have people who come there for the safaris, and they're the country that has the last remaining mountain gorillas.
Oh.
So that's a huge tourist thing where it's like it costs like $3,000 per hour to spend with the mountain gorillas.
Like American dollars?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and that's just the baseline, and then you've got to hire the guides, and there's a chance you might not even see them. And so there are people that go there that have a lot of extra money to spend, and I think that like there are cases where it's like that money should be going to the Ugandan economy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that was a tricky part of it because it was...
That's insane.
You know,
I never knew that.
Yeah.
About the gorillas. Because that means that there's, you know, like that... I don't know how all the world works, but that means that probably people around where you were saw white people more frequently. And they just knew that these people are here and they're tourists or whatever.
Yeah, and there's another thing that's kind of like complicated about it, which is the Christian missionary stuff. So like... for instance,
those
in
guys
Gulu,
are everywhere.
Yeah, they're very strong in Uganda because Uganda is also like a strategic partner of the U.S. in Africa.
Okay.
So it's like a huge hub to like send a lot of missionaries to Uganda.
That's I'm so I don't know if you know how any of that works. I'm like I'm so curious about how there's those like mission trips work and
I know
why.
too much about
like why
like
do these people want to be Christian? Is that part of it? I literally, because I wasn't raised Christian at all. I sound probably insensitive about certain Christian stuff because I'm like, I just have no idea why or how it works.
I probably will too in my answer.
Well, the 411 on why people do it is like literally that's the whole thing with Christianity.
Right, it's just to kind of
people say that it's in the Bible to go tell the world about the good news, the good gospel.
Yeah.
So people will say the Bible tells them to do it. And that's like people worry about the fate of your soul. And they think if you're not Christian and you don't know and you haven't been told, you could go to hell forever. So it's your job as a Christian to go tell people that
evangelize the faith.
Yeah, this is good for you because if you don't do this, you're going to be lost forever, and it's my job to tell you.
Yeah.
That's what people think.
Yeah, and I think there's also an element of like there was a church that was being built in Gulu, and that church was like the nicest building in the whole city. And a lot of people get good paying jobs through the church.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's an economic incentive for Ugandans to become Christian as well. And like, I don't want to say that that's like, that their faith is not legitimate. And like, I do think there's a lot of people that are really strong Christians in Uganda, but there's a weird incentive where it's like, there's just tons of money coming from the church into those areas. And like, there is an incentive to kind of, to convert if it means...
If it means you can, like, make money and live,
Yeah.
I probably would, too. I'd be like, I'm a Christian now.
Oh, it makes total sense.
I mean,
Like,
I would
course.
see it around and you'd be like, okay, it's just hard to ignore that the nicest buildings are the ones that are coming from these mega churches.
Which feels really kind of icky to me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh.
Well, but at the same time, whether with that agenda, the way that some people are about it, especially, I mean, you know, I don't even know what the right word to say is about it. It's not great. But at the same time, you do start to find that paradox where it's like, well, Jesus did do that. Like, he did make the best buildings there. So there's this weird thing where, of course, Christians are like, don't you see what we're doing such a great thing, you know?
Yeah, well,
like,
and at the end of the day, like, no one else is building new, nice buildings and providing jobs like that. So
I guess,
it's like, in a way, it's like, you know, I'm glad that something is motivating people to do this, but
yeah. That's the big like challenge that like I felt in working for the school that I worked at, and a lot of the people that I knew around that were like wrestling with this internal thing of like, okay, there are like good outcomes and what's being done there. So like the school that I worked for was like a really good boarding school, and lots of the kids there didn't have families, so they lived there full time, and it was a good outcome. There's a lot of people who are getting an education that otherwise wouldn't, but there's also a lot of this like Western stuff baked into it, which is like our religion, our culture. Luckily our school had all Ugandan staff and teachers, so we didn't have like American teachers coming over, but there is still like, if it's a Western funded school and you're in a country, that has an impact, you know?
Yeah.
So you're kind of exporting like soft power a little bit, like American Western soft
you
power.
look better like to people in other countries if you like provided that. Like there's like kind of a bias there. Yeah. What were you gonna say something?
The point I was trying to make was just kind of like, they are helping or whatever, but like at what cost? You know? It's like it wasn't just because part of it is like, it wasn't just like, we want to help these people because we're rich and we can help them out compared to like the way the world works. It was like, also we want you to be our religion too.
Which like
which
did
is
these
like
people want to be Christian? Like anyone. I'm talking like any country, any people, whatever. It's like most likely if they weren't Christian before, they probably are okay without it. And so I would be so curious to like see how people actually feel in these places where like, you know, mission trips occur and like all these things are built and stuff like that. It'd be interesting if they're like happy about it, if they're mad about it, like, you know, if it's but I did want to ask, because I know your answer, but like if we could if we could live in another country, like what country would you want to live in? Would it be a similar one or a completely different? Like where would you like to try out next?
I think out of curiosity, I really want to check out Central America, like Costa Rica specifically. One of the things that I did learn from like my Czech experience was that like people who already live in a place or people who have a lot of experience with a place that can help guide you is really helpful when you first move to somewhere that foreign. And like my friend Stefan, he is going to be in Costa Rica, and it's like also not as far away as Europe, and it's a little bit like more feasible.
You could drive there.
Maybe.
Technically.
I guess you could. Yeah, you could. Drive all the way through Mexico.
I wanted to drive down to the Baja. When I lived in my car, I was like, I'm going to make it across the border and just go. But I didn't. Anyway.
Getting out is easy. Getting back in would be hard.
I looked it up later because that was one of the things was like, I don't know if I'll be able to get in. And I think I just psyched myself out because I looked it up later and people were like, yeah, they'll just let you across. It's like getting back is the problem.
Super easy to get into Mexico.
You're totally allowed to leave America.
They're like, the Mexican border control is not as, nowhere near.
Coming back, you got to make sure you're legit.
Yeah, South America would be cool. Yeah.
Costa Rica I looked at too, the Pura Vida, and just like, I had looked into them for some reason. I was super into Costa Rica, so that would be super cool.
I've had so many friends and stuff visit, and it looks so beautiful. Just everything about it. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it does. And they're also like, they've got some really interesting stuff going on with like ecological related things to farming and like eco villages. There's quite a few that are there that I would be really curious to see like what they're like groups of people that are all living in a village that is, you know.
Scout would like, do you want to jump up?
Come on, come
Is that
here.
what you want? She normally doesn't jump on laps, but it seems like she wanted to.
You want food too. But yeah, I think that one would be really interesting. And like, I have a friend who could show me around there, and it's like, I think their tourist visa is like a year compared to other places.
Oh wow!
So you could actually have a good amount of time to check it out.
Yeah, that's.
I'd have
cool.
to fact check that. But
Yeah.
Sure. Let's do it right now. We don't need to pull it up.
Where would you live?
Yeah. What about you guys?
It's so I don't know. I guess it depends on a lot. From what I've heard about Japan, it is hard to like stay there. Mm-hmm. It's like really hard. Even if like, because no one's gonna tell you like don't be here, you know. And I'm sure that's like how it was in Czech. No one was like don't be here. Why are you here?
It's just a kind of
not
a vibe
verbally, but you know, part of it's like you'll never get it, and it's like it would be. So I've thought about living there and wanting to live there, especially even there because like the people are generally smaller than like Western people, and so like the cities are literally built differently because they're not that they built them for themselves. Like you just don't fit in.
Maggie about Japan.
Yeah. Oh really?
Because I told her we would love to honeymoon there, and I guess she's been, and she was talking about that. Yeah, it was different, and she was like, it was busier than like any American city. Like imagine New York like on steroids, like especially in the big cities. Hey, I need you to not climb on the table, Scout. And yeah, how small everything is. And yeah, how you definitely stand out for sure. People stare at you a lot if you're white. And like, you know, all that stuff. She was just kind of telling me about it. So it was pretty cool to hear about it. But yeah, it is built different. Like everything is very small.
Which is so interesting.
Yeah.
Like that's so cool. Because like, you think like stupid me, of course buildings are this size. Right. Because I'm this size. You never think about it. And then you're like, oh wow, these people are a different size than me. Built their cities at a different size. Like that's so like duh, but like what?
Yeah. What are we at? Where are we? How are we looking?
Yeah, so I guess off rip.
It's going great.
The first thing I would say would probably be like Japan.
Yeah.
But knowing what I know now I'm kind of like I don't know if I'd want to just go live there because I've heard about it so hard. So it's like maybe I'm thinking about the question too much, but
well, if you go in with that knowledge, it's kind of like the intention that you go in with it. Like then you could kind of be like, I could live here for a little bit and it's going to be super cool to see a different culture. And maybe I won't feel that way. Maybe I will just feel like totally like these are my, this is my place. Yeah. But I think for me, it was good to realize that like I was starting to feel that way and that it's probably a good time for me to try something, go back home and see something. Yeah. So.
Well, and you might find this super interesting. I guess part of what I would say is I guess one of the things I'd probably want to do is live somewhere in the Far East. Yeah. Then like maybe Korea or like Southeast Asia somewhere.
I know Nepal was one that we were both talking about for a while.
For sure. The Himalayas. Go to Kathmandu. And I think part of the reason is because I also was reading this thing where they were talking about the difference in culture between the Far East and the West. And whereas like individualism is so big in the West, and community and doing your job in your local service is so big in the East. And so right now I'm super curious about that type of thing. So I would want to live somewhere where I could try and experience what people are like and what communities are like more when people are more focused on fulfilling their role in society instead of being an individual in society. And because that just seems so different and so wild. And just the psychology of that in the West and the difference. I think I'd want to experience it and just see. So I don't know how much Japan would be like that, but that's my answer.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What about you?
Well, I kind of was thinking about it, and I feel almost there's been a couple places that I've thought about. I would like part of me was like, because I really want to learn Spanish and I really want to like learn it. Like I want to be in it, and I was like Mexico City would be so cool. I've heard great things. And that would be a little bit more, I feel like a little bit more familiar, a little bit more like close to home, type thing. I also was thinking, like, my family is from Sweden, and I really want to go, and I think it would be cool to, it's like, okay, I'm jumping, but so Mexico City, because super fun, super awesome, really want to be immersed in Spanish. Sweden, because I'm from there. I look like them. It would be kind of familiar in a way,
roots a little bit, yeah.
And yeah, I was lucky that part of my culture was like taught to me in a lot of ways and everything, and I really have a lot of pride for it. But then yeah, I was thinking of like Far East Asia type stuff to kind of get into a culture where it's like I am literally nothing like anyone here, and like. Yeah. I gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like really important for people to experience, especially Americans. Like I'm over here, like hey, excuse you. Sage,
where do you want to move
next? She's like anywhere but here.
The Himalayan mountains.
Yeah, that's what she wants to be, a Sherpa.
Yeah. Hey, she's named after the Pyrenees Mountains, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think I would like to visit all of those places for sure, but it could be interesting to kind of like dive headfirst into a place where it's like, yeah, I look different, I act different, like so much is different that I feel like it would be really like important for me as a person to like experience that, and really kind of be like humbled in a way, because here it's really easy to just think like everyone lives like this and everyone's like this and like all this stuff. But I think especially talking to like the owners of where we work, like it's so interesting, like genuinely sitting down and asking them questions about like, like I told him, I was like, this is probably a dumb question, but like how different is American Chinese food from like actual Chinese food? And he was like, oh my God, literally like nothing alike. It was just like explaining that kind of stuff and just how different that is. And he asked me questions about like American stuff where I was like, oh yeah, like, just so different. It's really cool kind of being just, I don't know, talking to people that have a completely different experience than you.
Yeah,
there's something about it for sure.
Yeah.
And having that much of a language barrier would really, you'd have to like adapt quick.
Yeah. It's like a constant process of problem solving and trying to find ways to communicate when you don't have language is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because you can like, with your body language, you can convey to someone that you're friendly or like you're asking where this thing is. If you can like find a couple words to be like, oh, I know this word, this place, I can try to, just through context, try to understand or communicate. So that part of it is really fascinating, and it makes your brain go like a million miles an hour.
Well, yeah, like we don't have to normally communicate with people that like we can't,
Yeah.
I was going to ask, cause I know we're like, we've got a long podcast going already, but
It's awesome.
it's not terrible.
We can go as long as we want.
Yeah. I know normally we only have 2 people fill in the space.
We're only at 87 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad. Okay.
Sweet.
I thought we were longer than that. So I know that it was probably hard, especially after Czech being there so long.
Yeah.
Like I imagine it was hard to come back and kind of adjust. Obviously in like cultural ways, but also like, was it hard? This is kind of dumb, but like, was it hard adjusting back to like American food, like American, like just lifestyle, like just all of that? Like how was that even with your Uganda trip and everything? Like just, is it like, obviously I've never done it. So like, what is it? What do you notice about America coming back instead of just living here?
Yeah, that's both times when I came back from Uganda and from Czech, it was like you kind of go into a little bit of a depression phase. Uganda was rough because it was like, I remember I had a panic attack at a grocery store because I walked in and it was just like bright lights and just like, I remember someone was complaining about something not being there that they wanted or being out of stock. and I just like lost it.
Yeah.
Because it was just so frustrating.
You're just like, shut up.
And it was Franklin too, so I moved back into my house in Franklin.
Yeah.
Which is just like, oh god, this is horrible.
Which is like a very wealthy neighborhood.
Yeah.
Kind of like very privileged people, for sure.
So that one was like, it kind of makes sense why that one was so rough, because Uganda, like, I really adapted to life there like around 9 months in, and then I left at a year. So I felt like I was really getting in the swing of things, and then I just didn't have any money, and my motorcycle got stolen, so I was like, oh, just
gotta go home.
Just gotta go home now.
Oh.
Dang.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one was rough. I think the Czech one, COVID kind of added an extra element to it, because the Czech had really harsh lockdowns, and they were really slow to reopen back up. So they kept going into full lockdowns. They would open up for about a month or two. Everyone would pretend that everything's fine, and then they would go back into a lockdown. And like, they were doing this dance where like, it was just getting really frustrating to be like, constantly back and forth between like, can we hang out with our friends? Can we not?
Yeah.
You know, like, am I stuck in my apartment, you know, for the next 2 months over winter? Like, so it started to end about like the summer before I left. So I had a really fun summer. I got to travel a little bit in that summer after I graduated. So I kind of felt like I had a really good goodbye to it. So like we did this trip to Croatia, and we went to the beach for a little while, and it was, I was dating someone from Ukraine at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so I had never been to visit her family. So we took a bus from Prague to Kiev, and I got to spend 2 weeks in Ukraine and then flew from there. So it felt like everything was just like tied up really neatly in some way. I mean, there was a lot of sadness because I ended my relationship with Yeva and then came back, and my mom had breast cancer at the time. So in some ways, it was like, even if I wanted to stay, like my mom having cancer, I would have come back no matter what.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things that were like, psychologically, I could tell myself, like, I'm coming back for a good reason.
Yeah.
I'm meant to be back home now.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if I kind of just had to leave because of a visa thing or something like that, it would be really hard, because I really had a great group of friends that I still love and miss.
Yeah.
But there were like kind of life factors that were like pushing me to come back to Nashville.
For sure.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to keep going. I gotta pee really fast. I really gotta pee.
Okay.
Do it.
So don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Perfect.
We'll be here.
And we're back.
And we're back.
Like nothing happened.
Yep.
Yeah, I think. Do you think coming back from the Czech Republic, since you'd already done it, do you think that helped too? Because I mean, you'd already been away from home, come back.
Yeah.
Life's different. Left again, come back. Life's different. It's like the second time you do it's not as hard, kind of.
Yeah, I think you kind of start to like figure out how you need to prepare yourself to like emotionally handle it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, Nashville, another thing too, is that it's the city itself has just changed a lot. So it's like every time I come back and visit, I'd be like, okay, Cafe Coco's gone. This place is gone.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
noticed that a little too. Not as much because I don't hang out as much as you did when you came back, but that's crazy.
So there's that element to it too. So you've kind of got to like tell yourself this is going to be a very different Nashville than the one that you left. 5 years and a pandemic and a tornado and you know, all the stuff that happened in that 5 years is going to impact the city. And like, don't try to make it be what it used to be, which I think that's what would cause the most like psychological damage, is if you're trying to relive what your time was. And it would be the same way if I move back to Czech someday, which I do think I might go back there for a period, but it's going to be, I'll have to prepare myself that like the Prague that I was in is not going to be the same as the one that I'm going to experience next time. And that makes the goodbyes very emotional, because you know that it's like, you're not just saying goodbye to a place, but you're saying goodbye to like an entire like era or of some sort. Like the dojo was like that.
You don't know that the first couple times you do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, when you're saying goodbye to people, like he might listen to the podcast, I don't know, but we just, one of our coworkers just left very abruptly from work. We knew he was leaving and everything, but he moved to a different state, and on his last day we were like saying goodbye, and he was like, I'll see you when I see you. And I was like, it's that moment where you're like, I'm probably never gonna see you again.
Yeah,
you know,
right?
like, because once you've done it enough times,
yeah,
you know not to be like, we're gonna stay in touch.
yeah.
You know, or like once you've moved somewhere and then moved back a couple times and had that kind of like harsh wake up of like, oh yeah, I can't just like go back, you know.
Yeah.
It's different. Even if I moved away for a year, it's different. A couple months, it's different, you know. So yeah, after a couple times, you kind of already know that, like you said, like, I'm gonna have to prep myself. At least you know that, you know, you can't just go back, because it takes a couple times of doing something like that to know, like, oh yeah, it won't be the same. You know.
And it is like, I mean, it's a emotional thing to go through, so I understand. I have a lot of empathy for people who kind of don't want to leave certain places, because I'm like, I get it. It's like it's hard and it's tough, but if you are the type of person that's curious about it, I do think that it's worth it to like. And it could even be small things. It doesn't even have to be like even just moving from Franklin to Nashville was enough of a like, let's start a new life 30 minutes down the road, but it already felt like a different era, you know. So there's like small ways that you can do it. It doesn't have to be a whole cross country thing, but yeah, I think that like it ends up building your character a lot, and I think it ends up like giving you really rich experiences, and you know, making a lot of new friends that are hard to say goodbye to, but because you have such a good friendship, it's like it makes that goodbye very powerful and strong. And so yeah,
that's very important. I feel like goodbyes a lot of the time make you like realize you're like, oh shit, you're really important to me. Like, you know. Totally. It's like some of my like high school friends, it was like you know, when I would like, even now with like Aspen, it's like I know I'm gonna see her again, but like I don't see her nearly as much anymore. And so it's like even like saying about her now, I'm like, damn, I don't know when I want to see you again. Like, we're gonna try, but it like it makes you realize like how much you enjoy people. I remember like when I was gonna move away, and like before we were together and we were just friends, and like it made me realize, I was like, oh, like, and you were like, we'll stay in touch, and I was like, no, we won't. I know we won't. We're gonna text for like a month and then never talk again, because that's how it works. And like it made me really sad, and so I'm glad that I didn't do that for many reasons, but
texted every month since.
Yep. At least once a month.
I mean, we've had to do it multiple times.
Well, and we I don't think, just like the way that we are, there'd never be like something crazy would have to happen for us not to like respond. Like if one of us reached out and the other one was like, you know, either just didn't respond or was like said something nasty. I mean, something crazy would have to happen. But we also have to like make an effort sometimes, because we live far away now and whatever, to be like, we're definitely going to talk. Our lives are totally unknown to each other. We don't know how busy we are and when we're busy and whatever, but we're going to carve out the time to actually talk to each other, because we have to, because we're friends and we're going to stay friends. We're making that choice for sure, you know? And so it makes it not as crazy when we do link up, because it's like we have kind of kept in touch. But it's still, you know.
And we've been able to like see each other at least like once in a couple years. Time period, which keeps it rolling. And,
keeps it rolling. Gotta keep it going. You know?
Well, we were just talking about that, how the older you get, the more you realize like friendships and just literally everything in life, like you have to like it's all about your intention. Like you have to intentionally hang out with people. You know, it's not like you guys just have classes together anymore, and you know, you live right down the road, and you know, all of that. It's not easy anymore. You know, it's like everything you do, you have to be intentional about it. You know, it's kind of like when, you know, your parents stop cleaning up after you. It's like, oh, I have to like be intentional about that. That's so like basic, but it's just like every little thing you realize, like, I have to do this purposefully. I have to make an effort to contact these people, hang out with them. Like, you know, even though we both have crazy lives and all of that, it's like, you know, you could have easily come out here with your girlfriend and then, you know, just Sam. I always feel weird about name dropping people when they're not here.
Shout out to Sam.
I know.
I'm like, do they want me to say their name? Like, I don't know.
She would. She'd be fine with it.
But, you know, you could have easily come out here with Sam and just went to the concert and, like, I've had friends where I see Snap stories of them here and I'm like, you didn't fucking tell me you were here?
Yeah.
Like, you know, because, it's like, you could easily just not, you know? But it's like, no, you have to really be like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
Let's do something. And it's even harder to hang out multiple times like we have, you know?
Yeah. It would be impossible with Tim, though, for me to do that.
I know.
Just not even be feasible.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because there are people where it's like, I'd be crazy not to.
Oh.
Did you not press record?
On the second coming back or the whole thing?
On the whole thing. So we only have audio. I didn't start recording the video at all.
We could do a still.
Oh my goodness.
No! I was so frazzled about trying to get everything set up, I forgot to hit the start.
Maybe we should, we can do a little intro clip, like a video clip.
Yeah, it can be like, this is what we look like.
This is him, this is us.
Yeah,
we didn't hit record, but hey, at least we have the audio, praise God.
Oh my God.
That would have sucked.
All good.
It's okay. Honestly, like, it's fine. But I like your idea where we can just have a still.
Yeah, let's get one still that, like, we'll do a little intro thing, be like, oh, we thought we were, you know.
Enjoy this still for the rest of the podcast.
Oh.
It's totally fine.
Well, should we end it then?
You
with
know,
the realization, or do you guys want to keep going? We don't have to do anything in particular.
It's whatever, you know. I mean, we've had such good conversations.
Yeah, it's
I know.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail everything.
No,
I was like,
no.
oh no.
You're good. No, for a second I thought I was like, oh no, we don't have anything then. But then I realized we could record the audio separately.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, and we put them together later.
Thankfully.
So.
Well, I'm very glad we still have it, and it's totally
we'll
cool.
take a great photo and have it be the still.
Yeah.
And it'll we'll have it slowly zoom in on your face for the hour and a half. Like, by the end, it's just your face.
Pixels.
People are like, they're watching it and they're like, is it zooming? Like, it's so slow that you don't realize. Like,
that's great. That's
so
great.
subtle.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
coming on.
you guys for having
podcast.
me. This is wonderful.
It's been so great to meet you, and you know, like, you're such an important part of Tim's life, and so it's really cool to meet you. And there's with a lot of his friends, and I know you probably have it with mine too, or just important people in my life. When you meet them, it's like there's certain mannerisms and certain similarities that you have where it's like, oh, like that makes sense, you know, like, or certain just like core values and stuff where it makes sense. And like you and Caleb, you know, it's like a completely different vibe. You both have a completely different vibe, but like you both make sense being best friends with Tim. It's so funny. I'm sure you feel that way with like Ashlyn and Aspen. Like, they couldn't be more different people.
But I see how it's
but
the
you
same
see
too.
how it works,
or why, you know, you're together. So
but yeah, so super fun. I'm super glad I got to meet you guys and hang out.
A big honor for me to be the first guest on the podcast.
First guest. Yeah.
First guest,
which means you don't get video, but
that means
you're
that the next guest is going to be the first guest with video.
It's not quite as cool. Let's go ahead and say that. But,
no, first guest overall is much cooler.
It
much,
is.
Much
it
cooler.
is. It's going to be my claim to fame.
Claim to fame forever now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's been so good to spend time with you guys this weekend.
It's been so much fun.
And Sam and I are already talking about how we need to come here more often.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so we will do this again soon.
Oh, yeah.
And next time you come to Nashville, we'll have to all do like a camping trip or something.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Our last trip to Franklin was insane. It was so busy.
Yeah,
so
we
busy
go into
with
like
the wedding
Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah.
And do some camping or.
I'd love that.
I'd love it so much.
We should do it.
Well, thanks for being on. Thanks everybody for listening.
Me.
Thank you, everyone. Check us out on all the socials at Stuck Together Pod. StuckTogetherPod@gmail.com for any suggestions, any recommendations, any kind words to Hunter or us, you know?
Questions?
Like whatever.
Anything.
Questions,
Yeah.
anything.
You want anything
Or
elaborated?
mean words, honestly. Whatever you want.
Yeah, what do you want to hear in round 2?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes, round 2, and we're back. So,
With video.
Yes, with video. Yes, people get to see you live
Maybe
in
I'll
action.
never be able to be on video. Like pixelate me or something. Like
you're
I'm
a-
this mysterious person
Yeah.
that you never show.
We like hide your face and like deepen your voice.
Yeah.
It's like an anonymous. You're like scared to be on camera.
Yep.
You're like they'll find me.
I like it. Start telling creepier stories.
Yeah. Awesome.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye,
Goodbye.
guys.